Greetings, brothers! Welcome to the Blood Angels Commander channel.
Hey guys, good evening. Give me a shout if you can hear me okay. How's everybody tonight? Chrono saying, Lamented Son, Dirty Wizard Mark, good evening, good evening. How are you guys doing? I finished my squad. That's my squad in the picture. I finished them. I don't know if they're that great, but I'm pleased with them. I varnished them this afternoon in between the hailstones. So arguably the varnish should have taken away some of this horrible shine over the transfers. I did paint some paint back over the top of the transfers to try and reduce the shine, but yeah, I'm pleased. I'm so pleased. My cursors are finished. I'm tired. The clocks went forward an hour. My son woke us up at 6:30 a.m. So I'm tired tonight, which is fine. We only got 4 army lists to look at tonight, so cool. But good evening, good evening, good evening. Thanks for being here. Remember to hit the like button on the stream at some point if you enjoy it. And yeah, I'm kind of thinking I might go ahead and change my list in the very near future. My list. So let's see what the community lists are tonight. We've got lists from Chrono saying, Jason Trump, Killer 485, and Heller. That's the 3 lists for tonight. 4 lists, sorry. I'm tired. I can't even count 4 apparently. Okay. Chrono saying's first. Let's check out his list. So he's got 2,000 points in 2 CP. He's got that lovely little squad of Voidsmen at Arms. We love these guys. They're troops as well, which is super cool. Good for behind enemy lines. We've got a Chapter Master with a Relic Blade, and he's got Rites of War. He also has Visage of Death. So that's pretty much the Chapter Master like Sam Procopio runs. You think Rite/Visage together is very, very good. I usually find Rites on his own is fine, but Visage of Death isn't a bad trait to have, I guess. We've got a Librarian with Nullzone and Psychic Fortress, and a Combi Melta and Icon of the Angel. I'm not a huge fan of trying to run Nullzone without Psychic Mastery. Nullzone, if I'm remembering correctly, casts on a 7. So even with a reroll, that's fairly unreliable, right? I did a video on that. You could probably find it if you search Blood Angels Librarian on YouTube. And I remember in the video I showed you the percentage differences between casting Nullzone on a 7 and Nullzone on an 8. Sorry, a 7 and a 6. Maybe I've got the slides. Hold on. Give me just 1 second. I definitely have done this. I've done the maths on it more than once. I remember. I'm 100% sure I've done the maths on it more than once. Yeah, here it is. Cool. Good evening, Rez. How you doing? Good evening, Jim. Thanks again for the super chats last night. I do super chats, gifted subs last night. I do really appreciate it. So, casting on a 6. Don't move the slides. God damn it. Sorry, so Nullzone. Casting on a 7 is a 58% chance. Stop moving it! Casting with the reroll is 82. Casting with Psychic Mastery is 72, so it's an increase of 13.87%. And casting with a reroll is an increase up to 92%. So Nullzone with Psychic Mastery is super reliable. Like 9 out of 10 times it's going to pass. Without that, it's 7 out of 10. So here's my question: like, it's fine to run it. I just think that if you're going to a tournament and you want to know your Nullzone is going to be reliable, then I would spec into the way of making it 9 out of 10 rather than 7 out of 10. It will still fail. Like, nothing is perfect. But I feel like if I was desperate to Nullzone a specific enemy or unit or something like that, you want to know, because the thing about the Librarian with the jump pack is he can move 12, right? Then he advances d6, And then he gets +1 to advance. So realistically, even if you roll a 1, he's moving 14 inches. And null zone is an aura of 6, which means you can null zone something 20 inches away, even if you roll a 1 on your advance. So if you're going to jump Librarian forward 20 inches to guarantee removing the invulnerable save for a key target, you want to know it's going to cast on 9 out of 10 times rather than 7 out of 10 times. It's minor, but I think I would pay the points for Psychic Mastery. And then you've got the Priest with the Teeth of Terra and the Jump Pack, which is fine. Cool. 2 squads of Infiltrators, they're obviously good. Incursors are a little bit better now with mine, but still good. Blade Guard in a 5-man squad. I talked about these guys a little bit. I don't think Blade Guard, for me, I'm not going to run them in 5s anymore. If I'm running Blade Guard, I'm running them in 3s, or I'm running 6 and I'm combat squadding them. I think they're better in smaller squads. 5 are difficult to deliver. Maybe it's okay in this current... I mean, I guess you've got an Impulsor here, I guess, to put the Blade Guard, which I don't think is a bad choice. Like, I've run Impulsors, I've run Blade Guard before, but I think Marines really suffer from having, like, really cheap units that can be durable and sit on objectives. And I think 3-man of Blade Guard is better for doing that, just that task. You got the Brutalis with double multi-meltas. I like it with double multi-meltas. I think it's a little bit pricey, but, I mean, it is good. Death Company with 4 hammers and Infernal Pistol Sword. Death Company with all Infernal Pistol Swords. Relic Terminators with all Chain Fist and Lightning Claws. Cool. Interesting and flexible squad. You could even Mastercraft the Sergeant's Lightning Claw if you really wanted to spice things up a bit more. Good evening, Sang. How you doing? Rezio said, fun story. Yesterday I had ran a Wiserator Chaplain and he failed litanies on 1s multiple times. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the way it happens. I've also seen it go the other way, where you don't run the Wiserator Chaplain like in Lamarta's and he passes every litany for the entire game. So that's just the way it goes, I guess. And then you've got Sanguinary Guard with all Infernal Pistols, which I like, and all Axes, which I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of right now. I'd probably be going all Swords if I was going all of one weapon type, but Axes are fine. You've got a squad of Desolation Marines with the Super Crack missiles. You don't see them very often yet. And you've got the Whirlwind and you've got the Impulsor. Battlestar Scribe forgot the Castle Launchers and the Devastation. Sure, so the Devastator Marines have some indirect fire, but it's not... I don't think it's anything to really write home about. Alright, so this is a new list with the Brutalis and the Desolation Squad. Before I get Gilliman, I have my usual Chapter Master with Jump Pack and Rites and Visage this time. We have the Sanguinary Priest with Terror this time, so he's useful for something other than being a target for Angel Sacrifice once turn 3 hits. Then the big boy Brutalis is going to have a Jump Librarian next to him with Psychic Fortress. I like that idea, but I feel like if you're gonna bring the Jump Librarian for Psychic Fortress, I feel like you want more than one unit that's going to benefit from that. Like a single Dreadnought can still be brought down very quickly. When we talk about Dreadnoughts, I think you kind of need to have 2. The rule of thumb is like 2 is 1 and 1 is 0, meaning that people will typically, if they go first against you, they will kill your Dreadnought before it can do anything, and that's why you want 2, so one of them's still alive. Psychic Fortress is going to help, but he will still get blasted off the board. I've been liking the Blade Guard Impulsor strat recently, so we're going to stick it out to score oaths, and that's pretty much all the notes. Okay, well, I mean, if you're liking Blade Guard Impulsor, I was liking it as well until I ran 3 Blade Guard and then felt like 3 Blade Guard are optimal. Good evening, Juan. Desolation and Brutalis are both excellent top 4 contributors from my last 4 games. So I think the Desolation squad are decent. They definitely have long range. You definitely could deploy them. I don't think their indirect fire is anything to write home about, but it will kill some models, and the Super Cracks are a decent way of finally getting D3+3. I was going to make a video this week on how I'm preparing for 10th edition, and I wonder if Desolation Marines and Brutalises are going to be stronger. Maybe I need to mention that those are things that maybe I need to prioritize building, actually. Did you see I finished my Incursors? Oh, yay! How about the classic Devastator drop pod? I mean, I think, personally, I like running a Terrax with units inside. At the moment, the Terrax with Sternguard, in my opinion, is better than a Devastator drop pod for Blood Angels. But that's just my opinion. I think that the Tarax brings some really nice melee threat that obviously a drop pod doesn't. Devastators and drop pods don't bring that, whereas a Tarax and a Sternguard squad does. And a Sternguard squad and a Tarax is like 280 points, maybe 270. And a drop pod and a Devastator squad is not probably that much cheaper. It's probably like 50 points cheaper. And it doesn't have nearly as much utility or durability as the Terax and the Sternguards right now. But who knows what Sternguards will... I think Sternguards are actually kind of... The multi-meltas in the Sternguard squad probably shouldn't be free. They're probably an oversight. And I can't imagine they'll be free next edition or whatever. Everything's going to change with 10th. Okay, so what do I like? I mean, I like you've got the cheap Death Company and the damaging Death Company. I do like Terminators. I do like Sanguine Guard with all Infernal Pistols. I do like Blade Guard and Impulsor. Just more recently, I feel like 3 Blade Guard or Combat Squading Blade Guard might be better. The Whirlwind's obviously useful. The Desolation Squad seems like they could be useful. Definitely a good damage output. I guess with the Desolator Squad and Infiltrators, the backfield's very safe. Not so sure I don't like Psychic Mastery, and I also don't know if I love Teeth of Terror on the Priest. I guess it gives the Priest something to do. He can jump in and try and kill something in turn 3 onwards when you don't really need him anymore because he's done all his Blood Chalice nonsense. So overall, I think this is a decent list. Arcs of... and then Voidsman as well as a scoring unit. Arcs of Omen is an interesting season because I guess the thing about Arcs of Omen is like you need to reserve some stuff. So like, what are you reserving here? Like, I guess you're reserving Terminators. I guess you could reserve the Brutalis. Bring it. That's probably the best way to play the Brutalis right now. If it's your only model, I'd almost say you have to reserve it. Maybe you reserve it with a Librarian with Icon of the Angel. Maybe that's the way to do it. They both can reroll their charge. They both get +1. I don't know if I feel confident enough to start a Brutalis as my only Dreadnought on the board right now. I ran a Brutalis to an RTT, and apart from one game where it got obliterated by some Custode Spike in turn 1, it was a lot of fun. Better when it's put in strategic reserve, says Warhammer. So we're basically thinking the same thing. I ran my Gladiator to the RTT, and I started on the board, I think, in the RTT every game, but the 2 games I've played since then, I started it off the board, and I actually think that potentially starting it off the board, depending on who you're playing against, actually is a lot stronger. So, oh, excuse me, like I said, you get any sleep last night, I'm tired. So, you've got durability. I think the one thing that stands out to me, the most value, the thing I would change the most here in this list is the Psychic Fortress. I don't know how you would fit that in. Maybe what I would do actually is change this Blade Guard veteran squad to a 6-man combat squad it, save the 50-60 points on the Impulsor, take Psychic Fortress, and then if you've got some points left, I don't know, take 2 company veterans, or take... Yeah, something like that. You know, just take a land speeder. Yeah, land speeder, why not? That's probably what I would do. Take a land speeder with multi-meltas. If you can't afford a land speeder, take a tap bike with multi-melta. Put it in reserve and just bring it in, score something like behind enemy lines or something like that. Okay. But overall, I mean, this sort of list is fine. I think if you're not playing on like super dense terrain, then I think you need some durable units like this now. And I've obviously been running my Terminators, which I like. And I've been running Blade Guard as well, which I like. Infiltrators give you so much board control early game as well. So it really is about, you'll have your whole side of the board screened, so you've got nothing coming in on you. So it's just about pushing out, surviving, and then making those critical charges. So overall, it's decent. I think it's a decent list. I'd probably put the Voidsman, the Brutalis, the Librarian, the Terminators in reserve, and then if you do switch up the Blade Guard, I might put 3 of them on the board and 3 of them in reserve, something like that. Good evening, Fox. How you doing? Yeah, I mean, everybody rolls ones, right? I mean, if you saw my game against Kev this week, I rolled so many ones. It was crazy. Sometimes you just roll bad. There's not much you can do about it. All right, Jason's list's next. Cool. All right, so Jason's going to combat squad a squad of Blade Guard veterans and put them in reserve, on one in the table and one in the middle for Oath. He's enjoying a 9-inch rights and could have a lot of mortal protection with Captain and Litany of Faith. He plans to reserve aggressors, Death Company, Eradicators, and a 4-man Sanguinary Guard, and he's going to do behind enemy lines, Oath, or retrieve data / raise banners on the 6 objective maps. Okay, so he starts with 1 less CP, 2,000 points. He has the Bite Captain with Soul Warden, a Combi Melta, an Armor Indomitus, and a Thunderhammer. Nice. We've got Librarian and Fomos Armor with Shield of Sanguinius and Unleash Rage. Unleash Rage is the best Blood Angel's power, so it's good to see someone using that. We don't often see people take Phobos Librarians, but I guess it is, you can forward deploy the Librarian and be able to cast Unleash Rage and only line of sight for Unleash Rage, which is good. We've got the Primaris Chaplain on the bike, who has the Litany of Faith and the Canticle of Hate, so that's +2 to charge and a 5-up Feel No Pain against mortals. He's a Master of Sanctity, so he can do 2 litanies a turn. He's Rites of War, so he's got Encore and Character's Obsec. He's got the Vox of Spiritum, so all his auras become 9 inches. So 9-inch Feel No Pain against mortals, 9-inch +2 to charge, 9-inch Use My Leadership of 9, and 9-inch Rites of War. That's pretty interesting, right? Based on the fact that he's already on a big base. What is the length of the base of a Chaplain on a bike? It probably says on the GW website, right? Warhammer Chaplain on a bike. Chaplain on a bike. He's on a 90mm base. So 90mm, I believe, is 3.5 inches, maybe even like 3 3.75 inches. Isn't an inch 2.5? So it's like 3.5 inches. 3.6 inches. Oh, it was very close. So I guess when you put him down with this 3.6 inch base and then you draw 9 inches each side of that, potentially that's like a 21 inch bubble. It's not quite a perfect circle. It's a bit of an oval, but that's a big bubble for Feel No Pain against mortals, +2 to advance and charge. You're obsec if you're core or a character, and you can use My Leadership 9. Then we have the Priest, who has Visage of Death. Interesting choice on Visage of Death on the Priest. I guess at some point he's just going to sacrifice the Priest to get some points. Fair enough. Not what I would pick on the Priest, but I tend to try and make my Priest survive. But I guess that's not a bad idea, actually. I mean, your Priest's, once he's done his job in turn 1 and 2 of getting units into Assault Doctrine, maybe healing a unit or 2, he's not really that needed. So Visage of Death to just be like, haha, you don't have Obsec, I steal some primary points, and then my Priest dies, is probably fine. Good evening, Miles. How you doing? The mortal wound saves are nice, yeah, especially into some horrible army like Eldar or something. You'd want the mortal wound saves, wouldn't you? So we then have Assault Intercessors and Infiltrators. I would have loved to find the 5 points to just make these guys incursors, but I guess it is what it is. You got 3 aggressors with Flamestorm gauntlets. I think because the Bolt Storm are free right now, I think I prefer the Bolt Storm. Because it's probably more shots reliably. But I guess Flamers are auto-hitting, so I can understand that. You've got the Blade Guard in 6, which you said your combat squad. I think that's cool. I probably need to put a Blade Guard onto my painting table, because I only got 5 painted. So when I pivot away from Gilliman, I can finish. I did do 2 other Blade Guards at a pretty high level, so I just need to finish them off. We got Death Company with Infernals and Power Swords. It's great. We've got Death Company with mostly hammers. We've got Sangre Guard times a 5 and a 4, all with Infernal Pistols. Nice. We've got a squad of Outriders. I guess in this list, it's probably Outriders are there for a reason to try and snag something. Personally, I'm not a huge fan. I don't think they do very much damage. I don't think they're that survivable. They're not terrible. But I don't think they're overly survivable. Let me bring up the Outriders page. Is it tournament legal to have a Terminator captain on a 40mm base on a 60mm base? So, if in doubt, I would use Wapedia, man. They put all the base sizes on here. So, 1 second. It's been a while since I had a Terminator captain. Maybe they're on different bases now. And also they could get put on different bases. They could be getting put on different bases with the new...
Lorenzo donated €5 via Super Chat. Is it tournament legal to have a Terminator cap 40mm base on a 60mm?
Yeah, let me check. Thank you so much for the €5. I would have answered your question anyway, but thank you. I do appreciate it. Yeah, I don't like much about Outriders. Maybe they're going to be in good in 10th edition. If this ever where is it? Come on, you stupid website. Terminator Captain. Here's the thing. The rumor is there's a new Terminator Captain coming, right? So the Terminator Captain should be on a 40mm base. I think if you're taking him to a tournament, he needs to be on a 40mm base. I wonder if the new Primaris Terminator Captain, or the new Terminator Captain, whatever they're calling him, will still be on a 40mm base. It's hard to say. I mean, I guess no one knows really yet. I imagine new Terminators are probably on the same base size as the current Terminators. Just characters have been increasing on base sizes, right? Because I think Firstborn characters are on 32mm bases. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, if we go check, let's say, Astrath, he'll be on a 32. And if we check, like, a Primaris Captain, he'll be on a 40. So Astrath, it says he was shipped with a 25, but it's valid to put him on a 32. Whereas the Primaris Captain is on a 40. Yeah, so I don't know what they'll do with that new Terminator Captain. They might just keep them on 40s. In that case, you need to get your Terminator Captain onto 40. Marcus, good evening. Can you have a Sangre Guard squad with just 4? Yes, 4 is the minimum size of Sangre Guard squad, 100%. It says it's 4 to 10 models in the Codex, so we don't often see people use 4s. We never really saw it before, but now you can have 4 Infernal Pistols, and I don't think it's bad. Hide them behind a wall. Turkey says he'd be surprised if the new Terminators aren't 40mm bases. I think as well, because I have the old metal Terminators, and they, at some point, they were selling those old metal Terminators, I think, on 40s right at the very end. Or maybe I just stuck them on 40s. But I feel like Terminators will be on 40s. The Captain could be on something bigger, but... yeah. I think it's probably going to stay on a 40. I'm trying to think, because there's the Blade Guard Veteran, right? And then there's like a... Do you know what? The Captain in Gravis armor is the Gravis Captain's on a 40 as well, right? If the Captain in Gravis armor is on a 40, then I very much doubt. Why can't I see Captain in Gravis armor? This one has mask. This is a Gravis Captain. He is on a 40. Yeah, I feel it's unlikely then that they'll put any new Terminator Captain on a bigger than a 40. We then have a squad of Eliminators with the Bolt Sniper Rifles. I don't think the Bolt Sniper Rifles work in a single squad. I think if you want to run Bolters, if you want to run the Sniper Rifles, you need 2 squads of them. Should Heavy Intercessors have red or blue helmets? That's a good question, Multi. That's a really good question. I think when I was doing it, I decided that I was going to make mine have blue helmets. but technically they're like troops which are battle lines, so they could have red. They probably make most sense to have red, but then it gets super grey, right? Because like, hey, I just did this squad of what are these guys? Incursors with yellow helmets. Well, they're troops. Yellow's typically for fast attack, so Incursors are 100% not fast attack. But then some people could argue Incursors will have yellow helmets because they're, I think they call them frontline, because there's battle line and then there's something else. I forget what the other thing is. I feel like it's frontline. Someone correct me in chat. But yeah, so you could argue that because these guys are troops, they should have red helmets, right? Yellow is for close support. That's it. Yes. So yellow technically, so these guys are troops, but they're technically close support, so they have yellow helmets. So if you apply the same logic, then you could say your heavy intercessors are troops, but they have heavy weapons, so they are blue helmets. But you could also just do them red. So I don't think there isn't a clear line in the sand that says they must be red or they must be blue. Same as assault intercessors, like Reziel said, just had yellow helmets. So if someone does assault intercessors in red helmets, are they wrong? I don't think they are. If somebody did incursors or infiltrators in red helmets, are they wrong? I don't know if I think they are either. I actually did my infiltrators in black helmets because I wanted them to feel like they were special ops and to make it super obvious when I'm playing at a tournament. I can just say, hey, the guys with black helmets are my 12-inch deep strike denial. So I wanted them to have a different color helmet than everybody else. So yeah, no, there's no right. I don't know if there's a right answer. There is a chart in the codex, but it doesn't break down it. You're right, Andrew. There is a chart in the codex, but it doesn't break down every single unit. So at that point, I feel like it's your own interpretation. I have the old codex right here. I actually bought a mint one because mine was just a fucking disaster. So here's a mint one that I got from eBay. Look at these gorgeous. I should do a video on this codex actually. So yeah, like they've got Blood Angels Devastator squads in blue helmets here. I don't know if you, and then they've got Assault Marines in yellow helmets, and they have the Tactical Squad in red. I don't know if this codex says the helmets. I feel like it's been a while. I thought it did. Oh, this was back when the codex was shared with Dark Angels. Oh, Dark Angels players. Can Blood Angels be run as a ranged army? I mean, you can run them as a ranged army. There's nothing that says that you couldn't. I just don't think you'd be particularly effective. We're definitely better. I mean, if you go all the way back here, there you've got a friggin' sergeant in a blue helmet. So, like, he's just a Blood Angel sergeant with a blue helmet. I mean, at that point, you get into all sorts of questions as well, right? Like, Blood Angels Terminators typically have red helmets. Terminators are veterans, so would veterans not by default have gold helmets? Because veterans typically have gold helmets. Oh, that's the Devastator Sergeant. Okay, my mistake. But I honestly think you just pick what you're doing with your army and decide. No one has ever told me at an event you shouldn't have painted those helmets yellow because they're red, and I think it goes both ways. Sorry, way off topic. Eliminators don't work as a single unit of snipers, not unless you're playing like some toughness. I was gonna say, I think we did the maths on these, and they struggled to kill a toughness 4 character, like even after 2 or 3 rounds of shooting at it. So it just makes no sense to have one squad of eliminators. Run 2 if you want to run eliminators, or run them with las fusils. Eradicators, melt the rifles, times 4. that's good. I put them in reserve, I think, at the moment. That gives you a ton of threat from reserve. And then the Whirlwind with the Castellan launcher. Okay. Codex Space Marines specifies which character each unit is. Codex Supplement Blood Angels specify the colours per category. There you go then. That's the way to do it then. I guess if Mark... Sounds like Mark knows what he's talking about. There is a current listing. Okay, well then great, there's a current listing. I guess I just paint mine what I think makes sense. I have thought about that because I have been doing Eradicators recently, which I gave blue helmets, and I have been doing the Heavy Intercessors, which I think I was going to do blue helmets. So what are you guys... So, Rezio, Mark, what are you guys doing on Heavy Intercessors then? Marcus says he wouldn't play against people that have painted the wrong colour. I mean, that's an honourable thing to do, Marcus. You show up at the tournament, you say, that guy painted his Intercessor's helmets the wrong colour, so you're going to default and let him win 100-0 to you. Oh, so if people think Heavy Intercessors would be red. Can we quickly discuss the loadout of Eradicators? Heavy melter rifles are nice, but -1 to hit, so is the multi-melter. True. So, what's the question? You want to know which does more damage? I mean, if you're reserving them, the cool thing about Eradicators is they're assault weapons, so if you're reserving them, there's no -1 to hit. And if you're reserving them, you just bring them in less than 12 inches away from the enemy, so they get +2 damage. So there's no -1 to hit, you still get the +2 damage, or you take the -1 to hit and you get the +4 damage. I mean, it's almost like potato at that point, right? Because I think the extra damage will probably be negated by the fact that you miss some more times, and then I guess I feel like rerolls would benefit. Like rerolling of 1, for example, bringing them in next to a captain or something else would benefit more the assault variant than the heavy ones. Alright, so Jason's list. What would we change? Or was there anything to change, I guess? I love this Primaris captain with all his Primaris chaplain with all his nonsense. I also like the Primaris captain. He actually has a ton of protection against mortal wounds here. He's got 2 bubbles. One's a 9-inch bubble, one's a 6-inch bubble, and then he's got the priest, which has mortal wound protection built in by his Feel No Pain. I don't like the Outriders. I feel like I would find something better to do the same job if that's what you're trying to do. Maybe you could do it with like a couple of land speeders, maybe, or and I don't like the single squad of eliminators. I said that already. I like all the infernal pistols. I like the combat squads. I do think aggressors are cool right now. Again, I'd probably put them in reserve, and I would really like to probably change out that assault squad for incursors or infiltrators just to give you more board control in the early game. And then, yeah, I guess I would probably reserve... What did he say? I think he said he was going to reserve. He's going to reserve the aggressor squad, cool. 1 Death Company unit. I'd probably reserve the Thunderhammer unit, maybe? The Eradicators and 4 Sanguinary Guard. I might even... Do you know what? In this list, I might even... If because you don't have forward deploy, I might even reserve the Assault Intercessors. It's a weird one. I mean, like, the Outriders and Eliminators are 180 points together. I feel like Eliminators with Las Fusils are good. They're fine. But I don't feel like Outriders are all that good. I mean, you could have made it a 6-man aggressor squad and combat squaded that. and then you could have added another Thunderhammer to this Death Company or something. I don't know. I think Outriders might be good in the next edition. I hope they fix them. I'm thinking I should maybe finish up painting my Outriders. I think that they'll make them good. I think that the new rules will make Outriders good. And hopefully they're going to tackle all the models that have been bad for the whole edition and make them good. But right now, I see them as maybe they can snatch objective from you early game. You know, we talk about like, yeah, maybe they're fine in this list. They just try and snag an objective, and they don't do much beyond that. You try and use them for some move blocking, Jason. That's fine. I don't know what else they really bring. I don't think their guns kill very much. I don't think their chainswords kill very much. Eliminators are probably used to score. Well, I mean, even if they are used to score, I would swap them out for las fusils. It's just actual damage. Whereas I don't think people are going to hide characters or be scared from 3 bolt rifles. They have big bases, so you can move block them. I guess I hadn't really considered using Outriders for move blocking. I guess that's a valid point. Here's the real question: do you give blue helmets to Marines with heavy weapons and tactical squad? I don't believe you do. You would give them all red helmets. Because the squad is a tactical squad.
Dirty_Wizard donated £5 via Super Chat. F the Codex compliance, the Black Templars get away with it, so BA should revert back to their HH standards with 100k strong Legion rolling on the floor laughing.
I mean, I don't know how many we've got left after the devastation of Battle Dirty Wizard. I don't even know if we're close to 1,000 right now. I mean, we must, but like, what's the ratio of Firstborn to Primaris? They haven't told us. You like Eliminators? Okay, I mean, the math just shows that they can't, a single squad aren't going to do that much work, right? I know you don't really believe in the math, but I base all my decisions on maths, really. For me, the best thing that squad of Eliminators can probably do is run, like, Quake Bolts. Which wouldn't be bad, I suppose, in some situations in this list, but I think that would be spending too many CP before the game, because you've already spent 5. And you need to have at least one, so you can do Forlorn Fury, right? 5 Outriders or 6 Angry Guard for 180 points. I know what I would pick. I think for the most part, yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about toughness 5 models, and they're fast Outriders, so you can move them around and try and do some shenanigans with them. I think in 10th edition I'll probably try and fit some Outriders into my list, but right now I don't really rate them at all. I really do think I've been thinking about this all week, and I think that's the video I'm going to make this week. I think almost any unit, any Primaris unit, or any unit that has been released since 8th edition for Marines is going to be worth finishing. Like, if you've got, like, because I've got 6 I've got 6 half-painted Eliminators, and I've got 6 half-painted Outriders. I think all these things are going to be worth finishing, because I think that with the new rules and the reduction of AP, okay, maybe not the Hammerfall Bunker. Everything except the Hammerfall Bunker is going to be worth finishing. Yeah, that's what I'll say. Every Primaris model, except the Hammerfall Bunker, should be worth finishing. Overall, most of the things in this list I like, though. I just prefer to have Phobos troops, because I think in tournaments, Phobos troops can come in clutch and can score you points. And I feel like one squad of Eliminators are generally not going to do that much work, and I feel one squad of Outriders are generally not going to do that much work. But that's just my opinion. If you have a clear strat for them and you think that you can use them and you can utilize them the best you can, then go for it. I actually even think one squad of eliminators with las fusils don't do that much work, but I think they do more than one squad with just sniper rifles. Because you like the one squad with sniper rifles, they're gonna get like 3 shots. They're strength 5, so you got to roll the hit, you got to roll the wound, and they're not even that high AP, right? Those sniper rifles, and you're fishing for 6s to do a mortal wound. So even if you do get a 6 out of like your 2 wound rolls, they probably save 1. Then so you do 1 or 2 damage, and then maybe they have a healer, so they just instantly heal it. Yeah, I mean the only way you could play those eliminators is to put them up the front of your army and use them as basically a roadblock, which I guess is fine. I just think there's easier, better ways to roadblock. For example, incursors right now, they're quite a good roadblock because if people charge them, then on a 2+ you do D3 mortals to them. So I quite often put a squad of incursors in front of, let's say, a squad of Death Company or squad of Sandguards, saying, yeah, you can charge incursors. I'm not super worried if you do because I don't really need them because they're incursors. I need to keep my Death Company and Sandguard Guard alive, and also when you charge me, most of the time you're going to take 2 mortal wounds. Sometimes it'll spike, sometimes it won't. Cool. Okay. Any questions, Jason? Just fire them into the chat and we'll get to them. Killer 485 is up. I don't think we've done a list from Killer before, so or maybe we have. I forget. I do a lot of lists, right? I guess after 5 years, I can finally finish my Storm Raven. Storm Ravens are probably not. I feel like they're okay right now in Arcs of Omen. I really feel that they're not going to keep that reserve rule that we have in Arcs of Omen right now because we're getting to a point where it's kind of silly. Like against Eldar the other night, I had like 900 points of stuff in reserve. Literally as many units as I could put in reserve because I think I had 15 units total and I started 7 of them in reserve because you've got to have more than half on the board. So it's kind of getting silly to a point where like some armies will just put half their army in reserve and then because it's free, there's like no consequence to doing it. I don't know if I don't think that's going to stay, which I think will change everything again. So a Storm Raven is cool right now. I think if it becomes a point where you've got to spend 2 CP to put it in reserve, I don't think you're doing that, right? Like it's too many CP, right? Where's the best place to get terrain layout reference cards? I want to use them for tactical planning. I get we do our terrain for the WTC. So I mean, if you just search like WTC terrain, I think it is, or is it UTC? If you search WTC terrain, you can click. I think it's probably no, it's not that top link. You can click here, and then you can scroll down to, I think it's this one, terrain maps. I think this is like a 90 meg PDF, so it might take like a few seconds. But if you want to practice seriously, like I would just download and copy like maps from these terrain layouts. Yeah, like you can see like this sort of thing. And I've been to events before where they've basically said like, hey, game 1 will be conversion and we'll be playing on table 1. So then I would take that and I would like print that out. And then I would like the night before the event, I would like write on that. Like, hey, this is where I'm going to deploy and this is where I'm going to go and stuff like that. So WTC terrain is a good place for reference. I mean, Blay should have typically half their army in deep strike. You know, if you like, I've been to a lot of tournaments in 9th edition Highland, probably 7 GTs and like 3 or 4 RTTs, and I would say that in most of them, apart from like if we exclude Arcs of Omen, most people would have 1 or 0 units in strategic reserve. Like honestly, as little as that. Because I was running like 3 the whole time. I was running like Voidsmen, Assault Intercessors, and like a unit of like Sandguard for a while, unit of Terminators for a while. And I think that was like way higher than most people, honestly. Most people, for the majority of 9th edition, would run 0 or 1 strategic reserve. I think it's more 0. I think 0 is more common, honestly. Even maybe Sisters of Battle were the only ones that I really run into that did more because they can guarantee their 9th charges. I think you can advance eliminators, shoot the bolt carbine, and then move them again. I don't know if you can advance and shoot the bolt carbine and move. You can definitely move, shoot, move. I don't remember the exact wording on the eliminators. Maybe the wording is just as long as they've shot. I think that might be the wording. As long as they've shot, you can move, shoot, move. I fucking always forget to move my eliminators after they shoot. In your shooting phase, if the unit is shot. Okay, yeah, so it sounds like you can. I don't think I ever did that. Jim says, remember in 10th, vehicles are going to be around toughness 12. That's why I think I might finish my Battle Predators next, Jim. We got 54 people watching, we got 19 likes, so 36 of you, or something like that. I'm tired, need to hit the like button, I appreciate it. I think that, I think, like, I don't know if Battle Predators are going to be competitive, but I mean, if they go to toughness 11, they might not be bad. I feel like I said, Primaris models I feel like are going to be super worth finishing. I think they're going to make all those Primaris models really good. So like if you have a Gladiator tank, finish your Gladiator tank before 10th edition, right? I want to kind of finish both my Battle Predators now before 10th edition. I think you're going to get benefited from having a balanced army. Like I've been preaching a balanced army for Blood Angels for like 3 years. As long as this channel is gone, I've preached a balanced army. I think you're going to get rewarded now for having a balanced army. I think that's kind of going to be the point. They're not going to have the armies so pigeonholed into one thing, because when they're pigeonholed into one thing, it's making they're struggling to balance stuff, right? Like you can see that with like Dark Angels, they pigeoned into like that inner circle, super durable, and they're just miles ahead of everybody. Blood Angels at the moment, they pigeonholed into like super fast moving but squishy, and now we're just miles below everything. If they're going to keep people Codex compliant with Space Marines, I think they're going to have to. I think they're going to make all the Primaris stuff really good. I think it would be a big mistake if they didn't. And I think you're going to want a balanced list. Anyway, let's get on to Killer's list. Here's my revised list. He needed to cut down the characters. He wanted to split Vanguard veterans into 2 5-man. The bodyguard some characters, and the 2 Death Company will go the captain. He needs some help with secondaries. Well, Killer, if you didn't watch my video from Friday yet, please watch it. It was called, like, is this the best Blood Angels list? I'll be right there. Like, if you go to Blood Angels Commander channel and you just scroll down a little bit, is this the best Blood Angels list? Click this video, because Gitley, who played that army list, was kind enough to include like a description of all his games. You can see it here, the description of all his games, and he also included all the secondaries he picked. So, and I talk about secondaries in this video as well, so you should watch that. Let's have a look at this list anyway. So it's a chaplain with this is the custom Born Heroes Whirlwind of Rage successor chapter. Okay, so it's +1 to hit on the charge, 6 is burst. Alright, so it's yeah, read what Gitley said about secondaries, because I think it's important. Canticle of Hate is an aura for +2 to charge. The Master of Sanctity, so we've got 2 litanies casted. And we've got Armor and Dominus. Alright, so it's quite a survivable chapter master. No wiser rater though, so Litany's only going off on 3s. Death Company captain on a bike with a storm shield and the Teeth of Terra and Imperium sword. I guess Imperium sword lets him reroll charges. I was trying to think, is there value in Imperium sword? Yeah, I guess there is a bit. Librarian Dreadnought with shield and wings. And Rites of War. Okay. And then a priest with Selfless Healer and the jump pack. Do you know what's going to be really interesting if AP is down across the board and we can like run the Librarian Dreadnought and not feel worried about running him? That's going to be really nice. Like, if he's going to be like a toughness 10 Dreadnought, we're not going to have to worry about the fact that he might not get an invulnerable save because AP is down like loads across the board. The Librarian Dreadnought could be a seriously good character for us in 10th edition. Yeah, I'm going to make a brainstorming video for this Friday of things that might be good and things that you should finish painting. That's what I'm going to do. And then I'm probably going to fail typically because I'm so slow at painting. But hey, I finished the squad today. First squad of the year. How about that? Infiltrators with Assault Intercessors. I feel like, I mean, on the Sergeant you can get a free Plasma Pistol and a free Thunderhammer, so you should do that. Just make one as soon as you can. JF Devon says that he's been here 5 seconds. He's already got called out for his pile of shame. Yeah, I mean, you can call me out on my pile of shame. You know, I did a video a little while ago of my pile of shame, Jay, and it was friggin' massive. And I don't know how much of a dent I've made on it, because although I've probably made a serious dent on it, I feel like I've also just bought as much stuff as I've painted, right? Like, for everything I bought, or for everything I painted, I probably replaced it with like 2 units. I was gonna say, look, here's my pile of shame from, when was this? 2 years ago, so this needs an update. That's a pretty nice pile of shame, isn't it? Just a few guys there. Those are painted, so that's something. I guess all these are painted now. I feel like I haven't really touched those Reavers, though, and fucking any of these tanks. I've definitely painted a couple of Redemptors, not touched the Land Raiders, not touched hardly any of those Chicken Dreadnoughts. But it says 8,100 points. Not painted the Outriders. You know what I have? No, I haven't finished those Terminators. Oh yeah, I definitely haven't touched anything in these random boxes. It is what it is. Pile of shames are they're there for a rainy day, right? Don't be upset. I'm not calling you out. I mean, we can compete to see who's got the biggest pile of shame. I'll make another video. We've got Brutalis, we got Death Company with Infernals and Power Fists, interesting, and a couple of Thunderhammers. We got Death Company with a bunch of Plasma Pistols, Power Swords, and Power Axes. I'd always try and keep my Death Company under 5, so you can do Forlorn Fury for 1 CP. This is a 6. That's a really awkward number. I would make it a 5 for the Forlorn Fury. Trust me, you're never going to want to not have a good Forlorn Fury idea. Sangre Guard, this is a 7 with all bolters. I would try and get some Infernal Pistols in there now because they're free. It's a 10-man Vanguard Veteran squad with Lightning Claws, Power Axes, Lightning Claws, Power Axes, and a Relic Blade. There's a Venerable Dreadnought with the Multi-Melt and the Heavy Flamer. A Landspeeder Typhoon. I don't even know what the profile of a Landspeeder Typhoon is, actually. Not off the top of my head. It's like the missiles or something? Are they still 100 points for Landspeeder Typhoon? 1 Landspeeder Typhoon. 100 points. Why? Why is that 100 points? What's it got? A heavy bolter and a missile launcher? For 100 points? The fuck? What am I missing? Can't be one land speeder. Why is this one 60 points and this one's 100? Can't be 40 points for a fucking heavy bolter, is it? It's got no more wounds. It's got no more toughness. It actually moves slower. Nothing against you, Killer. I mean, you didn't... Oh, there's 2 land speeder types. No, there can't be. What the fuck's wrong with the Typhoon? You're 40 points for a cyclone missile launcher? Get this the fuck out of your list, sorry. Run 3 multi-meltas with... Run 3 land speeders with multi-meltas and find 20 points here. Lose that 1 Death Company. Already said you can't run them as a 6 anyway because you can't Forlorn Fury. So lose 1 Death Company and replace this Typhoon with 2 more land speeders with single multi-meltas. You're not paying 40 points for a fucking cyclone missile launcher. They're free for Deathwing. And they're not even good. Sorry, I just got triggered by that. That's terrible. That's actually tragic. That's tragically bad. This is the sort of stuff that I really don't want to see in 10th edition, where you've just got 1 unit that's just absolutely gash for no reason. Why is this so rubbish? That's actually triggered me a bit. Yeah, okay, so you lose 1 Death Company out of the squad, you buy another... You take your fucking snippers to that Typhoon and just snip off the missiles. That's waste of points, 40 points. And then you add yourself another land speeder. Michael says 40 points for the launcher is ridiculous. Yes, it is. Alright, secondaries for your list. Secondaries would be a lot easier to score with this list if you had 3 land speeders, because that opens up behind enemy line / relentless assault just much more open. You could also just cut those 40 points and add the squad of Voidsmen at arms, because they're 40 points, and that would actually open up retrieve battlefield data for you. That might not be a bad shout here, because that gives you 3 troops, and then the option to do battlefield data. 4 Voidsmen at arms are on tiny little bases. If you're not familiar with Voidsmen at arms, I actually don't think I've done a video on them, but you could just Google them. 6 Death Company triggered you. Yeah, I mean, well, I've ran the bigger than 5 Death Company, and it feels terrible having to pay 2 CP for Forlorn Fury of them, and you just don't want to do it, trust me. Is the Chapter Champion any good in the current system? He is, but you need a way to deliver him, which probably means like a Rhino, a Terrax, or a Drop Pod, because he's got no jump pack, right? So overall, the characters seem fine. I like your Warlord trait. I like your custom chapter tactic. I like the number of Infernal Pistols. I would prefer Infernal Pistols over Plasma Pistols in this squad. I would like some Infernal Pistols in this squad as well, because I feel like Angelus Bolt Guns are meh. Combat Squad in the Vanguard Veterans is nice. I'd fix the Land Speeder situation. And then, yeah, it comes down to secondaries, right? Like, in that video that I made this week, I talked about Blood Angels don't have 3 great secondaries, I guess. You've got Shock Tactics / Relentless Assault / Behind Enemy Lines all in the same category. They're all good. They're all going to score you like 12 to 15 points. You can pick any of them. You then have to decide, are you going to take Oath of Moment, which usually scores like 10 or 12? I think when I picked it at the event, I think I averaged 11 across like 4 games. I can't remember. It was definitely more than 10. I think it was 11 across like multiple games, but you need something that sits in the middle of the map to make Oath of Moment work, which means you need something durable that can sit in the middle of the map. I mean, arguably, you have a couple of things that could potentially sit in the middle of the map, or something you could sacrifice into the middle of the map, be it a land speeder. And then your third secondary is super difficult. Like, you kind of have to do either banners or retrieve data, or a secondary into the enemy chapter, or the enemy army, which would be like no prisoners, or bring it down, or psychic, not interrogation, Abhor the Witch, right? So I think, and basically Gitley did really well with it, and I'd been kind of second guessing, because I include a squad of Voidsmen to basically always do retrieve battlefield data, And I'd been kind of second guessing that a little bit, thinking like, should I be doing data, because data isn't that strong, you can only get 12 points for it, etc, etc, etc. But if you look at Gitley's, like, you know, what we had up there in the channel a few minutes ago, Gitley's video from last week, I think Gitley did battlefield data in every match, right? Of course, I can't find that now. Is this the best Blood Angels list? He did battlefield data, battlefield data, battlefield data, battlefield data. Yeah, he did battlefield data in every match. Obviously, he's using different units to score it. He was using a land speeder Storm and Scouts, which arguably is a little bit more reliable than the Voidsman arms, but the Voidsman arms are going to be much cheaper. So my personal thought is, I feel like if I'm going to make one change to your list, I would lose the missiles on this Typhoon, and I would add the squad of Voidsman arms, and I would put them in reserve every game, and I would pick battlefield data. Turn 1, I do it with my infiltrators. Turn 2, I'd probably try and do it in another board quadrant with my assault intercessors, or vice versa. And then turn 3, I bring in my Voidsman arms in a quadrant and do it there. And the same thing in turn 3, I pay 1 CP to guerrilla tactics, my Phobos troops, my infiltrator squad, to come back into the final quadrant and try and get it. When I did it in the tournament, doing it that way, I scored, I think, across all my games, I averaged 8. There's a couple of games I got beat though, so 8 when you're getting beat isn't the worst. I ran 2 squads of Phobos troops, so I would try and change this squad out for like another Phobos troop, be it infiltrators or incursors. I'm not sure you quite have the points for that, so maybe you just need to be really smart on your infiltrator placement, and maybe you start your assault intercessors in a safe board quadrant. It's a bit more reliable than banners, but if you have 2 banners up the entire game, that's 10 VP, and that's easy to do generally, says Jim. Yes, if you're running double infiltrators and you've got 2 objectives on your side of the map, it can be very easy to just put up 2 banners, and then at the end of the game, maybe if you're winning, you can sneak up another banner or something like that. Battlefield data or banners are interchangeable. Banners I generally always go for in 6 objective maps, and battlefield data I generally go for in 5 objective maps. And I also... And the thing about battlefield data is it synergizes with behind enemy lines or relentless assault, right? Like if you have to put units into those board quadrants, ideally you'll be putting units into their deployment zone in that board quadrant at the same time. So that's kind of why I lean on battlefield data more, and it's probably one of the reasons that Gitley scored so high is that he leaned on those as well, right? Yeah, you got any questions, Killer? That's kind of my thoughts. Alright, we're going to move on to the last list for today. Put any questions you've got in the chat, and we'll answer them. Heller. We did do a list for Heller not too long ago, and he came back with some improvements. Chapter Champion has heroic intervention, fights first. He does, and he's kind of cheap now. I guess the question is just how you... Like, I guess you could put him in reserve, the Chapter Champion. I guess I keep forgetting. I don't keep forgetting. It's just before, I guess you needed a way to deliver him. Now that we get 3 reserves, I guess you could put him in reserve. I just think a 9-inch charge from Deep Strike, even with +1, is generally unreliable. Sorry, did I not say that, Highland Phoenix, that he had Scouts and Landspeeder Storm? I thought I said that. Did I not say he had... I could have sworn a minute. Like I said, the clock's going forward meant that I went to bed too late, not realizing that the clocks went forward, and then my son was up at 6:30 on a Sunday. I did say that. Okay. Yeah, I said I think the Landspeeder Storm and Scouts are more reliable than the Voidsman at Arms. But I think I prefer the Voidsman at Arms because they're less points and they don't take up an elite slot. But I mean, it just comes down to personal preference there. And I also think that Infernal Pistols are always going to be better than Plasma Pistols. Even if there's a turn that Infernal Pistols are out of range, I would still probably take Infernal Pistols over Plasma Pistols. But that's just my personal... Again, one shot from a Plasma Pistol, or maybe... Yeah, because you're not going to overcharge it, so it's going to be one damage shot. So if if my infernal pistols are out of range for one turn, I still prefer them over plasma pistols. And if you're ever stuck in combat, because let's remember, Death Company can't fall back out of combat. So if your Death Company are stuck in combat for a turn, you're going to prefer to have like 5 infernal pistols in the squad over 5 plasma pistols, because you know, if you need to get out of combat, the only way you're getting out of combat is if you kill your enemy. Much more likely to kill them with 5 infernal pistols than you are over 5 plasma pistols, I would say. Like, way more likely. Way, way, way more likely. Into almost anything. Into, you know, like, even if you're killing orcs or marines or whatever, the infernal pistols are always going to get you out of combat way more reliably, I think. And that makes up for maybe a turn where you can't shoot them because you're out of range, I feel like. My personal opinion as well. And that's one of the reasons that Infernal Pistols and Sangre Guard are really good as well, right? Because if Sangre Guard Heroic Intervene, then you Heroic Intervene in their turn, you can fight, and then when it comes back to you in your turn, you can shoot your Infernal Pistols to finish anything off. And then you could potentially make a charge on something else, you know? So, that's why well, since they made Infernal Pistols free, I ditched all my Bolter Sangre Guard, and I have 25 with bolters, and I have 5 with infernal pistols, and only 5 I'm running at the moment are the infernal pistol ones. It's really sad that they were not free, and I actually think of the 5 that I've got with infernal pistols, like 3 of those are magnetized. So I have like I have about 22 unmagnetized Sangre Guard with bolters, and like 2 unmagnetized with infernal pistols, and the last 5 that are actually magnetized. Ugh. That's the way it goes. Alright, Heller's List. We got Dante as the Warlord. We got the Priest with Soul Warden and Visage of Death. I wouldn't put Soul Warden on the same character as the Priest because I feel like you're kind of losing a little bit. That could be a bubble of Feel No Pain elsewhere on the map, but I guess it doesn't matter. He's said, fuck it. That's what he's doing. And we got Lamartes and Astroth both with the same litanies. That's an interesting option. We haven't seen that much before, but you can do that. You can give them both Canticle of Hate because they're allowed to do it because Lamarte's litanies only affects Death Company. Then have the 2 squads of Infiltrators with the gauntlets. Cool. You got Death Company with 3 hammers and 2 infernal pistols. I don't really like that. I feel like Death Company, you should be going 4 or 5 hammers in a squad. I wouldn't go 3. I feel like that squad's kind of starting to get muddled, and I don't know what it does. It won't kill the biggest, nastiest targets. It'll do a lot of damage, but it won't actually kill them, and I think that's the point of that squad, is to be able to threaten those big, nasty targets. If you got 4 Thunderhammers, you can kill a Telemon in turn 1, you can kill a Great Unclean One in turn 1. You know, with those, you risk leaving it on some wounds, and then you end up never killing it through the entire game, so I don't really love that squad. You've got 7 Sangre Guard with all infernal pistols, a bunch with axes, that's fine. You've got Vanguard veterans, a bunch of storm shields, a mastercrafted relic blade on the sergeant. Fine, I guess. And some lightning claws. You got more Sangre Guard with all infernal pistols, again, some axes. You got Death Company with 5 infernal pistols, a couple of swords, a couple of fists. Okay, I mean, yeah, I'm okay with this. I guess, like, I feel like there's very little difference between this and the squad of Death Company where everybody's got a power sword, infernal pistol. And then you've got another squad of Death Company with 5 infernal pistols. Good amount of infernal pistols. You should put power swords on these guys. They're free. Maybe you don't have the models, I guess. But if you could, I'd put power swords on all these. You have a assault squad with infernal pistol, a lightning claw, and a combat shield. You've got one with a plasma pistol, one with a eviscerator. Can you not take a couple of guys with meltaguns here for free as well now? I don't run assault squads myself, but I think you can either take... Maybe the eviscerator and the plasma pistol replace those special weapons. Anyone that runs assault squad does... Can I take meltaguns in here as well? And or no? Does this replace everything? You got the Whirlwind with the Castellan launcher. You have the Ancient with Rites of Valor and the Wrath of Baal. You definitely have enough jump units to make good use of the Ancient, in that you've got 6 squads of jump marines. Okay. You can get the 2 free meltas. Yes, cool, thank you. So you can get 2 free melta guns, but you can't take a combat weapon. Okay. Alright, then maybe Do you know what? With all the Infernal Pistols in this list, maybe it doesn't need the melta guns. Maybe that's fine. Okay, I mean, I guess that makes sense. So I'll tell you right now that so this looks a lot more like last season's type of list. This would have been really good list with Armor of Contempt. This list now relies so much on terrain you wouldn't believe. And if you need an example of that, just watch the game against Eldar that I played this week, and you'll see that without terrain, I pretty much lost 1,000 points of stuff in turn one. Yes, this list just relies so much. You're going to live and die on the terrain, and I guess this is why Blood Angels have a 45% win rate right now, is because a list like this has the potential, like if it's a dense board and you can hide everything, and you're a high level player and you know how to use the terrain, you can roast a lot of people with a list like this. If you go to an event where there isn't much terrain, or you're not the highest skilled player and you're into an enemy that has a ton of damage output, range damage output, you could potentially lose half this army in turn one. And I guess that's the risk you're going to take playing something like this. So based on the meta that I play in, and I guess at the moment I'm playing more casual local tournaments. If anyone, a bunch of you guys have been following me, you know the score. I went to a local tournament, so it wasn't even an overnight event. It was just like a local tournament, half an hour's drive away. I was back home the same day by like 7 o'clock, and my wife said to me on the first night, not even the second night, the first night, she was like, you can't go to 40k tournaments for a while because we have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and the two of them all day are a lot to deal with, right? Like, there can be a lot of shouting going on in this house. You know, you have to ask the 3-year-old the same thing 8 times and she just doesn't listen. So basically what that means is I'm going to smaller local events where sometimes the terrain on those smaller local events isn't great. I showed a video, I put it on the channel. It was a game against Tau. It was a game against Tau, which I did win the game, right? Like I did win the game, but the terrain on that board was also what the fuck's the name of the map? You know the map where there's no pre-game move. Someone told me the map with no pre-game move is called Abandoned Sanctuaries. That was it. So I hate Abandoned Sanctuaries. I hate playing Tau in general anyway because they're like really shooty and we're not shooty at all. And then it was Abandoned Sanctuaries, so you definitely don't want to go first. I went first, and then the terrain looked something like this, where you've got an objective here with 0 cover on it. You've got an objective here with 0 cover on it. You've got an objective here with 0 cover on it. You've guessed it. And because I can't, there's no pre-game move. So turn one, literally all I can do is jump to this put some units behind this piece of terrain that still has like a giant leap to get to anywhere near him. And it's I'm going to have to advance stuff onto these pieces of terrain. So like if you're going to smaller events, you're running a list like this. I ran in this list. Let me think what I had durable. I had 2 Dreadnoughts, I had an Impulsor, I had Blade Guard Veterans. I might have had something else. I think that was it. An Impulsor, which is a 5-up invuln 11 wounds. A Relic Contemptor, which is a 5-up 9 wounds. A Redemptor, which is 13 wounds, toughness 7, -1 damage. The Whirlwind, and the Blade Guard, which obviously have the 5-up invulnerable save and can be 4-up invulnerable save and can be paid on Transhuman. And yeah, I mean, I won the game, but if the Tau player had pushed out even a tiny bit more, I had lost that game 100%. There was nothing I could do. I couldn't win it. And I think that if you ran that on that map, you're fucked. Like, you are just fucked. There's no way you're winning that. Maybe at that point you'd have to start throwing like half your army into strategic reserve, and then you're trying to make charges in on Tau, 9-inch charges from Deep Strike. I mean, good luck with that. I guess you have Astaroth, so I guess arguably you could make them 7-inch charges from Deep Strike. And you could turn off the Overwatch. So maybe it's not maybe it's not as much of a lost cause as I'm saying it is, but you're not going to be able to put anything on any of those 3 objectives in the middle, not without losing all of it. You're never going to hold, unless you can put 2 or 3 units on every objective, you're never holding any of those points. So, with Armor of Contempt, you maybe be okay. But now, without it, none of this is durable. Death Company die so quickly right now. Even Sangre die quickly. So yeah, my thought in a list like this is like you need to have a couple of durable units. That's my opinion. I suppose it depends on what your meta is like, how big events you're going to. But a list like that, in my opinion, right now, wins or loses on terrain. It really does. And that's me. That's everyone's list for tonight. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the combos and the units are fine. The game is going to be won or lost on the terrain on the board. So you need to decide, like, are you going to an event that has terrain like that army that I played? Or are you going to an event where there's 12, 13 pieces of terrain on the board and you're confident you can obscure most of your army for most of the game? I might actually make this my background for a little while. Maybe see if I can fix some of these little issues. I'm really pleased how this squad of Incursors, what are they called? Yeah, Incursors. I'm really pleased how this squad turned out. I have the community to thank, actually. Thank you as well, Mark, for watching tonight. I got sent. I wanted to make all 3 squads of my Incursors with beak helmets because I didn't like those half face masks. And a few people from the community actually sent me these beak helmets. So I had like 8 or something for myself, and then I got two or three people from the community sent me a bunch. So I was able to make all 3 squads of Incursors with these helmets. I think that's what my video this week is going to be focused on. Is like, I'm maybe going to focus on some of the units that I think could get a big boost into 10th edition. It would be nice if they had suggested terrain layouts with each mission in 10th. Do you know, Benno, that would be so good if there was just like 3 terrain layouts in the friggin' chapter approved book or whatever, and said like roll a d6 and pick. I have Mohawks on my Infiltrators and Cursors. Cool. Like the old Mohawks on the top of the helmets. You dislike Phobos troops? I mean, I wish they had some, like, I wish you could get, like, some actual combat weapons on the Phobos troops. Like, maybe the Incursor Sergeant could have a power sword or something like. I would love to see that, but I just think that the utility that they bring of the forward deploy and the redeploy is just too high to not use them. And then also the fact that some Phobos troops have both smokescreen and transhuman. It's not just like they have one survivability thing; they have 2. You know. I just think it's too high. Sometimes you win and lose games on whether you have one obsec model left on an objective, and when these guys have 2 ways, you know, they can become -1 to hit and they can be transhuman. When they have 2 ways of making themselves more survivable, I feel like it's hard to not rate them as the highest troop. They're the best troop choices. Yeah, and the utility is really good. Okay, if anyone's got... And a Helix Gauntlet, of course, on the Infiltrators. Yeah, good point, Highland. If anyone's got lists they want to submit for next week, please do drop them over on the community tab. The list queue at the moment is pretty short. I think that, like, if you drop a list today or in the next couple of days, you'll probably be up next week. I don't know why it's so short this time. Some seasons it's super busy. I think it's maybe because it's the end of the edition. I hope it's the end of the edition. I have a list to put up. Cool. Yeah, send it over, Highland. That'd be cool. I'm thinking that I haven't really decided what I'm doing because I'm gimped in terms of, like, I'm not allowed to go to any tournaments. No, I could go. Just it's not worth. Trust anyone that, like, Anyone that's got kids that young, I don't know. Anyone that's got more than 2 kids as well, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they're still sane if if you have more than 2 kids, I don't know how you're still sane. I think my next tournament's going to be the end of the year. I think it's going to be a 10th edition event. I think hopefully it'll be more. Hopefully I'll have time to paint like 2 or 3 more units before then. I think it's probably going to make sense to try and actually do the Brutalis and the Desolation Marines as well, even though we've kind of said we don't think they're that good right now. I think going into 10th, I think. Mike says he temporarily has a second kid and it's broken me. Yeah, it's difficult, man. So yeah, I think my next event's going to be near the end of the year, which is fine. I'll get caught up on some painting. I need to make a new channel trailer, because if you've watched my channel trailer, I think I made it in 2020 and it's a pile of shit. So I'm going to make a new channel trailer at some point later this year. And yeah, maybe I can get to one day RTT before the event, before the season ends. There hasn't been that many people running RTTs, it seems like, in Arcs of Omen where I live. New trailer for the new edition. That's a great idea, Stephen. Yeah. I have some time off in the summer, so hopefully it lands around when the new edition comes. I guess that's all that there is to say. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for the support as always. Drop me a list if that's something that you need this week. We'll definitely be live a couple of times this week. I guess it'll be my first video talking about 10th edition, because I haven't really talked about it on the channel. Did do it on the podcast, but not really on the channel. So, yeah, hit like before you leave. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll catch you sometime this week. I think we're going to play Colin this week on Wednesday night. So that'll be either Death Guard or Demons. I think he's been playing Demons of Zinch now. I know there's monthly tournaments in Livingston. It's a bit of a trek from up north. Before I had my second kid, I was going to Common Ground games in Stirling, which I actually don't know. I'm not that good in geography. Google Maps. Where's Stirling compared to Livingston? Oh, it's funny. It remembers, like, you stayed at the Premier Inn in Livingston. Google has all your cookies, doesn't it? Livingston. Okay, so that's a bit closer to Edinburgh. Well, I live in Elgin, which is, like, way the fuck up north. So, like, I live all the way up here. Like, if you look at Scotland, I'm literally on the northern coast bit up here. So it's like 3.5 hours to get to Stirling. But I did go to a few events in Stirling, and the setup they have at Stirling is very cool. And the guys that I played at that event were like I guess a level above my local events in terms of skill or difficulty to play against. But yeah, you go to the bigger events, you play better players, right? All right, I'm gonna buzz out. I will catch you guys next time. Thanks again for watching. By the blood are we made strong. We'll catch you sometime this week. Peace. Good night. You said you lived in Scotland and it rained every day for 6 months. I mean, that's Scotland, dude. Anywhere, like, it's hailstoning today. It's the 26th of March. I posted this picture on Twitter and said that I'm trying to varnish these models in between the hailstones. Alright, good night. Peace.